Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are, I think, already on our, what is this, sixth Zoom on co-living. So we're starting to get there, which is kind of cool as far as numbers are concerned. And today we have a gentleman by the name of Chad. And Chad is, how do you pronounce your last name, Chad?
Yesilova. It is a bit of a
Yesilova.
mouthful, but yeah, Yesilova.
Very nice. And Chad has graciously agreed to talk to us about his experience with co-living. And now I'm going to just start to ask a couple of questions and then hand it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that detects the accent. All right. Put your guesses in the chat. What do you think it is? What's that?
Let's hear it.
Yeah, where's this gentleman's
I've had many
accent
different,
from?
many different nationalities. So I'd be curious to know what everyone thinks.
What do you think? Drop it in the chat. What do you think where do you think this Chad comes from? Because his name isn't going to give it away. What do we got? Let's see you guys put something in there. Everybody's like, I'm away from my keyboard. Oh, Russian. Oof. I wouldn't have guessed Russian. Say something again. Okay, so
Okay,
yes.
well, I mean, what can I say? I'm going to be speaking about co-living. It's a great privilege to be here. I want to really thank Effie as well.
Jared says Australian. Are we close?
Yeah.
I said when I first spoke with him, I said it's either Australian or New Zealand. That's what I guess.
Brooklyn as well.
Brooklyn. Kevin. That's hysterical. All right. Well, why don't you tell us where you're from?
I'm from Sydney, Australia. So I grew up in Sydney, Australia, and I spent some years living in South America as well. And now I call Miami, Florida home.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And I had learned, it was pointed out to me that you are doing co-living. Tell us how long you've been in sub 2.
I've been in sub 2 for a little under a year now, just
Nice.
a little under a year. And I mean, it's been fantastic as a program. I've been educating myself for many years, but I decided to I decided to take action. And that was, around the same time that I joined the program as well.
So did you jump into co-living at that point?
No, it wasn't. Well, basically, the initial plan was to start with long-term rentals.
Okay, so tell us about your story.
So as an exit strategy, we wanted to make sure, and when I say we, it's my business partner Steve and I, we wanted to make sure that any purchase that we made worked at minimum as a long-term rental before we even contemplated other exit strategies.
Okay, so you and Steve, did you meet in sub 2 or did you come in as partners?
Yeah, we met within sub 2. So yeah, it was an introduction through a mutual friend of ours, and so I told him exactly what my vision was, and he was quite excited by that vision as well. So that basically brought us together, and from there, it was just on a daily basis every morning. We would have a meeting to align ourselves and take relevant action to be able to purchase all the properties. And just so everyone does understand what my story is. I mean, just like everybody, I was young when I read Robert Kiyosaki's book for the first time as well, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that played a pivotal role. And I do have an investing background as well, because I was a stockbroker for 6 years from university, or straight after university, I should say. And then after that, I decided to start my own business and focus on growing a single asset rather than having to focus on so many different businesses within stockbroking. And we did grow that business, and we just didn't really know what was going to be around the corner, though. So it did experience many different challenges, and most recently it was COVID. moving to the States as well, different market. And so we thought, okay, like if we want to continue being on the offense, we want to make sure that we're in a position where we're still getting that cash flow. And we wanted to make sure it was an indestructible income stream as well. And, real estate being the safest investment class, in my opinion, I thought, what better way to do it?
So you got started with what class of asset? Was it single family? Was it
yeah, single family. Single
okay.
family. Yeah.
And
And that was for a strategic reason as well, because I wanted to make sure that we were in a class that allows for speed. Speed was incredibly important because I can get in there, and if it's vacant, we can do the rehab immediately, add value, force value if we do need to as well. And it does provide for immediate cash flow as well, especially with the way that we were calculating. We were very strict with our numbers.
Good.
As well. And so I knew that, with speed, it was going to be able to provide me with the track record that I needed, because my ultimate goal is to raise capital and then eventually go into multifamily as well, but use the track record that we're developing within single family homes for future projects.
Very nice. So you started house hacking the places that you were in?
Initially, it was just all long-term rentals, so single family in there, no house hacking at all. I was just plain vanilla, because we wanted to make sure that, hey, does it work? And at the same time, while we did put a family in there and we were able to get the rent amounts that we wanted. The other most important step was just making sure that we were putting all the systems in place as well, and building out the team that's necessary to be able to, one of our values is world class. And another one of the values that we have is, team members for life with the best interest at heart. And the reason I do mention those values, is because, when we do build the systems, I want to make sure that each tenant is seen not as, a transactional relationship, rather a team member for life with the best interest at heart. So we would build the systems to make sure that, we could provide them with much better service than they would get from any other property manager, for example. So it's like, 24/7 concierge service, making sure that there is a fast response time as well to their inquiries, or for any maintenance inquiries as well.
Okay, talk about a little bit more about that, because, when you're talking about fast responses and world-class treatment, things like that, usually you think about high-level Airbnb. That's sort of, like, you got to respond quickly. It's got to be nice. You have to treat them in a way that they feel welcomed. But you were doing this for your regular rentals, long-term rentals.
Correct. And just to answer Jared's question as well, yes, that was a recent read, and I've always been a big believer of who, not how.
Yeah. Good catch there, Jared. So when you start advertising for places and you start taking in applications, how is it different than, how is it different?
Okay. So in the beginning, we had our property manager, and, I've had some experience with property managers in the past, and I wasn't really fond of it. So, my initial step wasn't to convince Steve that, hey, let's just from the get-go start self-managing. These were my issues in the past, and I believe that we may encounter them again. And we did. So I wrote a list of all the different issues that we were experiencing, whether it's, for example, like response to maintenance, or even just profit projections, profitability, just seeing the profit and loss statement for each property. Whatever I wasn't receiving, I was writing down, and this was important to me, so I was starting to organize them on the side. Good. And then I was starting to replace each of the activities or tasks that property managers would do as well. And, having those values, I was constantly getting feedback to see how we can actually improve it.
Good for you. Now, out of curiosity, are you, do you and Steve have that kind of dichotomy that Pace talks about, visionary and integrator? Are you both visionaries? Are you both integrators? What's the relationship?
Okay, well, I mean, Steve for me was the integrator in the beginning. Okay, and the reason I do mention that is because he came from, he had a more extensive background in real estate investing than I did. So, I mean, I just went in there with a vision of, okay, by the end of these 12 months, or, I want to be able to purchase, for example, as much properties as I can. Okay. And then after that, I mean, the vision that I had was, I want to be able to be in a position where I can get 2 to 3 properties. And where did I, every week? And where did that vision come from? Pace himself, right? Because if he can do it and he shows that it is possible, then it was possible for me too.
Got
And,
it.
we did upgrade our systems to a position where we were acquiring 2 to 3 properties every month. And
Wow.
just 2 days alone, 2 days ago, when we spoke over the phone, right, I had just got 7 properties on the contract from a tired landlord.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah. So, I mean, to answer your question, I guess, he did start off as an integrator, but, I mean, you've got to focus and play on one another's strengths as well. And, he really likes being on the phone and being, with sales and setting up automations and just figuring out different ways that we can generate more and more leads as well. And me personally, I mean, I love getting on sales calls, and I really liked being like, something that really excited me was just initially getting the systems and the team to a point where we can scale as well. So, I put the initial systems together, and then once the cash flow allowed for it, just like Jared said, regarding who, not how, I looked specifically for an operations manager who can handle all of those tasks, so I can completely remove myself from operations altogether.
Good.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. So tell me when you started to turn towards co-living and what that path looked like. Tell us about that.
Okay. So, I mean, just so I mean, with 18 properties in the last 10 months, and that's since grown to 19 properties now. The initial properties that we were looking at were in the Midwest. They were, like lower value in terms of purchase price, and so we decided to move from that because there was actually a video by Pace and I think by Tatch Newen as well, and they specifically said, look, just don't go into that area if you're looking at investing for like appreciation.
What
right?
area were you in?
Indiana, specifically Terre Haute, Indiana. Yeah. So I mean, we looked at the numbers, and the numbers looked absolutely amazing, right? So for the first portfolio that we purchased, it was like 6,150 total rent, but what we negotiated with the seller was 2,149. So everything in between was, the gross margin where you would take out your capital expenditures, vacancy, and so forth. And there was still a nice, healthy margin left in there as well. But having watched those videos, we thought, okay, we need to get out of this area. If we look in other areas, the numbers don't really work as well.
Right. Not for cash flow. I mean, once you take depreciation in the longer run and appreciation, things may change. But it's always hard to decide what you should look at. Should it be cash flow so that you can replace your income and you have time? Or should it be, depreciation so that you can spend less on taxes? It's individual.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like, depreciation, I mean, it's a huge benefit, but we wanted that immediate benefit that would continue to enable us to scale and purchase more and more properties. Right. So that just gives you an insight into my mindset as to like, looking for appreciating markets, but understanding how can we get the best of both worlds, which is, also getting cash flow as well. And that's when I started to look more deeply into, co-living spaces, medium-term rental, just different opportunities out there. And
were they in that different market?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I mean, we purchased in Florida for the co-living spaces. And that's because, the opportunities presented itself there. And I had been reading so much about how, Florida is an appreciating market. and I myself am in Miami as well, so I could be the boots on the ground and go see the properties if I need to. And so, having seen those properties that were within our price range, and yes, we were actually stretching ourselves a little with the price range that we were working with as well. But ultimately, what I've been training myself to do is just trust in the numbers, not be intimidated by the purchase price that you're actually looking at, but more trust yourself with the numbers that you're actually looking at. And to further mitigate our risk as well, I just wanted to deal with entry-level homes as well, and prices that were at around or just below median price range for the area as well. So you just look at Zillow Home Values Index and look at those specific values to determine whether or not you're actually dealing with a property higher or below.
Got you.
Yeah.
And
And another thing that I do want to add, the reason why co-living really did appeal to me as well, because while I was looking at those, it was, just the very early videos that Pace had created about pad split. And it really appealed to me because coming from Australia's Sydney, prices are ridiculously expensive there. You can get a 1-bedroom condo there for, $1 million plus. That's crazy.
okay, I'm sorry. Okay, guys, take a second to think about that.
Yeah, and I really
Wow.
do recommend that you actually do look at realestate.com.au and just check the prices there. And the reason why I would recommend that you actually do that is because, we're talking about how the prices have gone up so dramatically, and that, there's only one way that it can go down. It can't possibly go up any further from here. When you look at the Australian prices, they've just continued to go up. And I feel like every price that I've seen in the US right now is the same as what Australian prices were about 20 years ago.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So the prices have just continued to rise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they
Yeah.
certainly have since I got into real estate when I was just a little kid.
Yeah.
So in Vancouver, I think that generally that is the case, but that's amazing that they're so expensive in Australia.
Yeah, it's
$1 million
crazy. And I've
for a
got real estate
condo.
investors. Yeah.
It had better be the penthouse and it had better be an entire block.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've got, friends that are investing in property there, or other fellow real estate investors as well, telling me that, it's still a great time to be investing there. And I'm looking at the cash on cash returns. It's negative pretty much across the board. So on a
Wow.
monthly basis, people are having to put money in, and I'm thinking this is not scalable. This isn't great. I know that cash flow is not the only thing, but
Mhm.
to scale, it is incredibly important. And I did actually have a property there as well, and for me it was a co-living space because I was in the international student industry, and housing was in demand. And
How
I've
how
also,
how were you involved, if you don't mind me asking, in the international student population?
well, I mean, I owned an education agency. So what that means
Oh,
is like students that want to study abroad, students from Latin America, mostly, who want to study abroad in
mhm,
Australia, USA, UK, Canada, New Zealand,
right.
would come into our offices, and we would suggest the location and assist them with the student visa, the school placement, the accommodation as well, among
That's
other
awesome.
things.
I know
Yeah.
exactly what that means because I used to
Yeah.
teach ESL.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay. Nice.
so as a result, all our students had come through that sort of thing. And I was
Yeah.
also an IELTS examiner of all things
Yeah. Nice.
for the British Council.
Very familiar with IELTS, and I know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
many
yeah.
students had difficulty with that as well. But
But that's
but
that really does kind of open up the doors to see what can happen with housing.
correct.
Because
Yeah.
in Canada with international students, they called it um, homestay. Is that what they
Yeah.
called it in Australia?
Look, we did have homestay as well, and that would be when a student would stay in a family's home. So they
Right,
would have a room for themselves, and it wasn't co-living in that. I mean, well, I guess it is because you're living with a family, but they
right,
would have one dedicated room for the student.
right. So
Yeah.
that idea of making money from each room. Yeah.
Correct. But I also want to add, and this is something very, very interesting as well, is, I mean, I've got friends that are, close to 40 years old, that are lawyers, management consultants, and they were all living together not too long ago. And the reason why that is so is because house pricing is just so expensive. And so now, I mean, they're living in, $2 million properties, but they needed to come up with, $400,000, $500,000 down payment on these homes. And, as affordability is decreasing, they're having to spend more time co-living.
Got it. So
Yeah,
you were very familiar with it and comfortable with it coming over.
absolutely. I mean, I actually preferred it. And the reason why I preferred it is because, I would have friends to come back to. I would have company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said about not being all by yourself, especially if you are from a different country or a different new to a city, even if you are American or whatever. It's nice to know that you're going to be with people. Someone will notice if you don't get up for
Yeah.
2 days in a row or 3 days,
Yeah.
maybe you better go check on that person. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. So
Yeah.
when you and your partner, Steve, started to look at doing co-living, what did you do? Did you take your single family homes and start converting them, or what did you do?
So the first purchase was a property in Mount Dora, which is about 30 minutes north of Orlando,
Okay.
30 minutes drive. And so, we saw a property that was 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom. And because we had just recently seen those pad split videos by Pace, we thought, okay, like, how much could we actually rent this room out for? And by then, I was also, developing a relationship with Nick as well. Nick from Pad Split.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
Yeah,
there are a few Nicks. I was thinking of
yeah,
Venus Nick. Okay, so got
yeah,
it. You were starting to work with
yeah. So
Nick.
Nick from Pad Split. So I had, I'd been in communication with him, and he was really assisting with the underwriting of the property as well. And so, based on what I mean, as you can tell, I just really wanted to minimize the risk, and that was incredibly important for me, right? And so, having Nick underwrite the property and discussing it with Steve as well, the next step was basically, look, how many rooms do we actually need in order for this to work for us? And the maximum number of rooms that we were able to get on that particular property was 6 bedrooms, and it did work for us. And because the bathroom rate, like bedroom to bathroom ratio, is 4 to 1, we did put in a bathroom as well, and that was a great exercise because it really taught us a lot that we needed to know around rehab and rehab management as well,
Good for
right?
you. So it
Yeah,
ended
so
up
those
being
numbers worked out
three
for us really
bedrooms for
well.
every bath.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Good. How long did it take you? What can you talk to us a little bit about the funds? Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let me tell you my specifics because I've got the document up right now. I can tell you exactly when I purchased Mount Dora and when it was
oh, hold
available.
on. Do you want to share screen?
Um, like I've actually got it on my laptop,
Oh,
but
okay.
I
No
do
worries.
actually have some slides that I can share as well.
It's
But
up
I
to
mean,
you.
look, just okay. So it was around May that we actually did purchase this property as well, right? So I've got the exact
So May of
purchase date.
23, you bought a 3 bedroom, 1 bath. What did
Yep.
it cost? Kim, were you interested in asking? Oh, you want to know how much it costs for the bathroom? Yeah, I'm interested in the numbers too. Good to see
Yeah.
you.
So I didn't actually break down the rehab cost, but the bathroom is just under $10,000.
10 grand. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, the people that we hired were specifically people that Pad Split had previously worked with, had a
Mhm,
track record with as well, and they
mhm.
did come recommended by Nick as well. And because they managed the entire project,
Yep.
and yes, we did actually see everything. They were slightly more expensive than going out there and hiring a general contractor. We were very well aware of it. And so part of paying that premium and why we were able to justify that is just education.
Got it.
Because we knew that it wasn't going to be the first and only time that we would do this.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And what did they
And,
charge you for that whole, uh, rehab? Like putting up
that,
the walls and the
yeah.
bathroom and, I don't know, what else did they do? Did they do anything else?
Yeah, so they did put up the walls, but something that we actually didn't budget for was um, the septic.
Oh,
Okay, so we had to get the new one installed. So that did cost an additional 12 grand that we weren't expecting. So that was
yeah.
out of the budget, and that was not something that we weren't expecting, and we were quite lucky that we actually did have those funds aside as well. But another thing that I also do want to add as well, that we did actually we got an investor involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it a PML or was it a PMP? Did they
Um,
lend or did they become part of the deal?
they became part of the deal.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, because, the plan is to, really build that track record, build my network as well. I wanted them to have that 50% share of the property. Now, a lot of the investors that I have spoken to, they said, look, you really don't have to give that much.
Yeah, I was going to say you gave him 50% after you'd already, was it that at the very beginning or after the septic went?
Sorry, was it before?
When did you give them the private money partner? Did you give him 50% at the was he in at the very beginning?
Yeah, very beginning.
Okay.
Very
Got
beginning.
it. Got
it. And just to be fair on the investor as well, because we were not expecting that septic, we covered that. Right. I didn't want to have to go back to my investor and say, hey, look, we weren't expecting this. This is a surprise. Because the idea behind the exercise of, bringing on an investor and offering them a greater share than normal, right, is that I just want to make sure that, I am building my investor network. I do have happy investors as well. And when we broke down the numbers, they were getting a 15% cash on cash return plus the benefits, 15.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So 15% cash on cash return, plus they were also receiving all the benefits from home ownership as well.
Right.
And I wanted it. That was my aim. It wasn't to give them the least amount possible. It was to make sure that they can be part of that journey, from that very beginning, and understand exactly what's involved. And that way, it just paves the way for more private money lenders and partners going forward.
Yep. That sounds great to me. Kim has her hand up and she's been very patient. So I think I need to try to do like the pace thing and say, Kim, would you like to ask a question?
Hey, Effie. So good to be here. Thanks so much. Oh my gosh. Thank you for coming on and sharing your experience with us. I really appreciate it. That bathroom, can you tell me, was the bathroom for just under 10,000? Was it above grade? Was it below grade? Did you have a half bath that you added on to? Can you expound upon that? And then with the septic, did you know that there was a septic? So I flip. So whenever I see septic, I'm automatically going warning, like I need to triple check this and see where my leach fields are and see how how well the septic has been maintained, etc. So
get insurance.
No, we actually had to have a septic installed because this was an additional bathroom and the plumbing could not be wired. Could not be connected. Now, as a flipper, an experienced flipper, chances are you know a lot more than I do, but for me, this entire exercise has been a crash course. And
which is wonderful. God bless you, man. God bless you. That's amazing. Okay. Yeah. So where was the bathroom? Can you explain it to me?
So the bathroom, there was basically a space very close to the kitchen, okay, adjacent to it actually. And, there was a wall that was actually separating this space as well, but it was just unused space. So we decided to turn that space into an additional bathroom.
So we had a wet wall. You had a wet wall where your plumbing was coming down, water lines were coming up. Okay. And so it was below or adjacent to the kitchen?
Adjacent.
Okay. And so you're on city or county water or what?
To be honest, you
don't know. Well, you would know if you were on a well because they would have to disclose that. And, if you hear the word, if I hear the word well, I say not so well.
Not so well is right. So yeah,
So
my
we're
question was,
definitely
why
not on the
couldn't,
well.
was
No
your
well.
trunk line, so then your trunk line for sewer, the rest of the house was going out to sewer on a trunk line that
Yeah.
couldn't hold an additional bathroom?
Yeah, it was going
So
to
it was,
cost too much, like more. So we decided to go with that option for the septic.
okay, okay,
And that was based purely on, like, the project manager that we have as well. It was his recommendation, and
okay.
we know that we need to get that pumped regularly, and that was just
Mhm.
some, like, an additional item that we said, okay, if we're going to get a landscaper and a cleaner in every 2 weeks, then let's just add this to that item that we're going to get done regularly as well.
You don't have to pump it every 2 weeks. Don't worry about that. Like
Yeah.
once a year is fine. That's plenty.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so, but you had to put a leach line in then in your, a leach filled in your property?
You'll have to fill me in. Like, this is all part of my crash course right now.
Well,
Okay,
this is
awesome, awesome.
fantastic. This is fantastic because it
Yeah.
means that Chad is also learning.
Right,
Yeah,
and I love that. It
absolutely.
makes me feel like I'm giggling because I go, okay, I don't have to know everything to like make a move,
No,
right?
no, like, I mean, okay, so just on that, not knowing everything, I watched a video with Pace and Grant Cardone,
Mhm.
and I was actually very surprised by how little Grant actually knew.
Right.
And
He
he
doesn't know a
really
lot.
focused on his strengths, and that's what's enabled him to scale.
Right.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Very good question there, Kim. And
Thank you.
for sewer, for a septic, I mean, the mentorship that I'm in and Kim is in also, on co-living, they say take out insurance on septic. You got to take out insurance. You got to expect to have it serviced more. Septic can cause issues just with regular use, but if you're going to be adding people, add respect and care, through money.
Absolutely.
So, that's interesting. So then, that's really nice of you that you actually didn't go back to your private money partner to ask him for more. I'm sure that he or she was very happy about that. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Nice.
I just wanted them to know that, we are really invested in any of our projects as well, right?
Yep.
And, my duty to my investors, and, having been in stockbroking as well, you do need to have your investors in mind,
Oh, yeah.
right? At all times. You need to look after them. And that was incredibly important to me, much more than the amount that we were going to be additionally investing.
Okay, so you bought this house in May. You
Yeah.
had to put, how much did you put in altogether?
I mean, okay, so initial budget was about $25,000. Okay?
Okay.
And then with that septic as well, that change order, it was close to about 40,000.
Okay. And
Yeah.
how much was the house itself?
The house itself was 330,000.
330.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do the numbers work? I mean, I'm assuming that Pad Split took care of filling it for you. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
I mean, look, so one thing that I do want to add, this was a little further out,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
so this property was a little further out, and Nick did actually warn me as well. Okay, but having come from like Australia, where co-living is incredibly popular, and having watched so many videos by Pace as well, and he's in remote areas as well, and like especially like I mean, there were some videos about C-class areas and where it's more popular there as well. So we thought, okay, Pad Split, right? And yes, we were actually getting a lot of inquiries, and I did my test as well to see, are we getting inquiries from Craigslist, from Facebook Marketplace beforehand? And then when we did put it up on Pad Split, we did receive inquiries, but the bookings were actually a little slow.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
do they only take from their platform of Pad Split?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
I
mean,
hadn't learned that about Pad Split because,
yeah.
I knew Marketplace, Craigslist, any place that you can, and
Well,
word
we
of
were
mouth.
driving traffic to Pad Split, right?
Okay.
So anytime we had an inquiry from Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, we would send them to our Pad Split link.
And it just didn't materialize as much as you had expected.
not as fast as we were actually expecting. Okay, so and so like Jared was saying that PadSplit advertises on several platforms. I'll just read that.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Look, if they do, that's news to me. I know that they do market and they do advertise for certain areas and they do open the markets as well. And that's exactly what Nick was telling me. Okay. But then because I started advertising on my own and I was starting to see what type of inquiries were coming, and yes, we were actually receiving some bookings during that time as well. But we had, a second property as well that is very close to the first one. And this one was in Tavares, in just north of Orlando as well. So it's about, about like just under 10 minutes drive.
Okay. So you were doing two at once.
Correct.
Good for you. Good for you. And the other one was not with PadSplit, or was it?
Well, it was going to be, but it was just, I mean, that was still under rehab as well. And we were just starting to get bookings for Mount Dora. And so as we were starting to get bookings, and because I was advertising as well, and I was looking into medium-term rentals, I was looking at, what type of inquiries were actually coming as well, right? So we had, one company reach out, and they are contractors. And so they asked, look, can we rent out an entire place? And that place had bookings, right? It was Mount Dora. So I said, I've actually got another property.
So they wanted to arbitrage your property.
Not arbitrage. They just, they've got projects going on in that area. And so they wanted it for their entire team, their staff.
Got it. That's fortuitous. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, because they wanted to book for their staff, and we asked them how many people and so forth. And, I mean, it was perfect because the other house had 8 bedrooms. Right. And so, they booked that one out.
Nice.
And then in that time, another company had actually contacted us as well, looking for a place. Right. And so we said, look, we can't accommodate that size. Are we listening to this,
guys?
Yeah.
Companies in the area. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess like the reason why that actually happened is because I'm a big believer of taking massive action. So because the bookings were not coming in at the time frame that I expected them to, I took matter into my own hands in terms of just marketing and communicating with people and speaking to the locals and understanding what is the area, what are people actually looking for? Am I going to market towards an older demographic, younger demographic? Is it corporate? Is it personal? What is it? And so just through that research and the actions that I was taking, it led me down this path.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good. So
and,
did you end up
so
filling
then they,
that house?
Like, because there were some rooms available, and I said, look, the only thing that we can accommodate right now in the very short term is this. But then, they took it, and then, since then they've actually wanted to renew. They take out the other one as well. So like, I mean, it's now all fully booked out. And the company that actually did want to book as well, it's like, got a minimum 6-month lease with the option to extend as well.
So am I correct to think that you don't need PadSplit anymore?
Look, I mean, no, I don't. Okay. But that being said, I don't like to look at it as I'm not going to use them anymore. What has happened is that it's opened up many more opportunities for me to purchase more and more properties and have that confidence that I can get them filled.
Great.
Okay? Yeah. So, I mean, I do plan on, continuing to purchase properties for PadSplit as well, co-living. I do believe that there is going to be a continued need for it. Oh, yeah. And especially as, the knowledge goes mainstream, more and more people are just going to be open to it. Right now, I'm finding that, a lot of it has been a younger demographic for us. Okay. And maybe it's because of that specific area. I'm not speaking for all areas, but for us, it's just been that younger demographic. And the older people that I did speak to, they said, I don't want to share my space.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I do think I'm looking at the luxury for older. And I do know that would mean each bedroom has to have its own ensuite bath. because you just don't want to share at that point. Especially since I'd be looking at high end. They're not going to share, but I get it. That's very interesting. So
and on the higher end, like, that's when you're dealing with different demographic as well. And I did actually look and consider that because I saw a property in Coral Gables, great property, $1.6 million though, right? And it's 5 bedrooms. So I thought, okay, under what circumstances could this work? How would the numbers pencil out if I made this a co-living space? And it was, it's right next to the university as well. And I'm looking at the prices in that area and comparing them with Furnished Finder and VRBO, Airbnb, and it would work.
Cool.
Yeah.
So come back to the numbers for us, if you don't mind, Chad. You've got this, the first one was 330. You spent 40, you had 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. You changed it to 6 bedrooms, 2 bath. How did it work out? What did you rent each room for? What are you netting? Was it better? Was it worth the effort?
I've got my own calculator that I've created, and we've since optimized that based on the expenses that we were experiencing as well. And so, for Mount Dora, okay, we said that, each room is going to be about $185 a week. Okay. Initially, it was like, we thought, okay, maybe we'll get about $205 per week. Okay. So we said, and we did actually go down a little, and we wanted to create that buffer for ourselves as well, which was really good. But yeah, 6 people on average, $185. So the revenue per month was going to be $4,810. Now, after you take out the pad split fee, the utilities, the landscaping and cleaning, and the PITI as well. The PITI was $1,642. We would also take out reserves. So for this particular property, we did 10% for vacancy, 5% for CapEx. I'm actually looking at the old calculation as well, so I could probably reduce that vacancy down a little further.
Yes, you
because
probably could.
It's been fully booked out since,
right?
So it was only for about a 2-week period that it was vacant. But the margin is, that we're left with is just under $1,100, $1,087.
So what did you end up netting?
Yes, $1,087 every month.
1,087.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so my investment on that is about $60,000.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
And are you willing to run through the other numbers of the, and I apologize, I didn't catch exactly where you said the second property was?
Yep. In Tavares.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Tavares, Tavares.
Okay. And tell us how many rooms, how big it was, the same numbers, run through the numbers.
Yeah, so it was 5 bedrooms and an office and 2.5 bathrooms. And we converted that to 8 bedrooms.
Nice.
And 2.5 bathrooms.
So you didn't include, try to add an extra half bath or anything like that. You kept it at 2 bath?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did it cost you to get in? How much was the purchase price?
Okay, so I'm just scrolling down for that one.
Thank you very much for being so generous with your knowledge.
No, it's my pleasure. I mean, grateful to be here. And I mean, it's a privilege to be here. So thank you so much for inviting me to talk on this. Now, the purchase price on that one was $399,900. And, this was one of one of the last homes that we had actually purchased as well. So you can, see that, the confidence was increasing, especially with the purchase price as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the mortgage balance on that one is $375,402. We bought this one subject to with a 4.875% interest rate. Now, the rehab on this one was around $20,000.
Oh, that's
Okay, and
good.
that included all the furniture as well. So it didn't
Okay.
cost a huge amount. And so for the private money lender, or sorry, private money partner, it was 70,500 entry.
They came in with just under 71
Yep.
for 50%.
Yes.
Okay.
And so
And-
they're getting a preferred return as well of 13%, but like, the payments are at around 15% on that one.
Okay. And what does it end up netting you?
So really appreciate that, Jared. Thank you so much. I'll definitely be in touch. Okay, so this one.
Aha. He
just...
DM'd you privately. Okay, I don't want to be rude because I am the host, but he's gonna have to wait. Either that or Jared, let's do a threesome. Whatever. Never mind and keep going.
So okay, so this calculator is cost per person. We've said $175. Number of people 8. Now, by the way, I just also want to say, okay, that when we did these calculations, okay, and we decided to go with a corporate route, we were still looking at, revenue per month and what would the expenses be, removing those and then providing that price. So we were still getting around the same margin.
Okay, good.
From any corporate leases as well. So the cost per room, 175, number of people 8. The revenue per month is $6,066. And accounting for the pad split fee, utilities, landscaping, cleaning, and PITI. PITI is 2463, $2,463. Vacancy and capex of 5% each. This was a newer build as well. Okay, so the margin is $1,452.
1,400 and
Celeste, that's per week, $175 per week.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was, the margin is $1,452.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, just breaking the numbers down the way I have with 175, and taking massive action and making sure that, we can market the property as well. I was also looking at Airbnb prices, right? So if, for example, someone stayed for one night, it would give me an idea of like, okay, how much extra work would I be willing to do just to make up that $175 per week?
Gotcha.
So charging, for example, $60 a night for that room, and then charging an additional amount for the cleaning as well, would mean that, I would be happy to take on that extra work of managing. Even though I've got offshore team members as well, like talent that are incredible at what they do, so we can offer that world-class service. It just means that, if we're doing that extra work, are we going to be remunerated for it fairly?
Right. Yeah. Where is your partner? Where's Steve?
He's in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, would I be correct in thinking that you're going to stay within that area that you've already got your 2, or are you going to be off to, Florida, or what are you thinking for your next ones?
Well, I mean, Florida is a great market, and all the the influences that I'm following, whether it's Rod Cleave, Patch, Pace. I mean, I haven't heard a single person say anything negative about Florida. I know that.
Wait. I'll say something.
Okay, the insurance prices.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. No. So the insurance prices are definitely going up, right? But with the the demand for the homes in this area really does compensate for the increase in insurance as well.
Well, also, I've come to learn that in certain areas, the insurance isn't high because historically they've never been hit. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me look at Florida again and only look at those areas.
Yeah. So I mean, our area hadn't been hit. And so, when you're looking at, properties in the area, you want to know, is it in an elevated area so there isn't flooding, or when was the last time there was flooding in the area, to determine, what are my risks or unknown risks that I'm actually working with, right? So, I mean, if you're looking at areas like Fort Myers, that's been hit really hard. And so, you've got to be a little more cautious with insurance prices in areas like that.
Okay.
And I had, recently come across a property in the last 2-3 days, and together with the HOA, it's like, $1,700 every 3 months. and they cover insurance as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna be looking in Florida. Is that what I hear?
Florida, Texas, Georgia, and Richmond.
Florida, Texas, Georgia, and where else?
Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Richmond, Virginia, because my business partner is there. He knows, like we both know, that it's a great market as well.
Yep.
And
Florida, because you're there.
Yeah, Florida, because I'm here. And Texas as well, because I was previously there. I was in Dallas, Texas. And, prices are great there. And there's been a lot of, population growth as well, because businesses are moving there as well. It has become popular as well. Taxes are a little higher there as well. So sometimes it may be a little bit more difficult to pencil out. But, if you're in appreciating markets and you can, look, Airbnb has become an issue in Dallas as well. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like, co-living is an issue.
Okay. And how did you choose Georgia?
I haven't actually invested at all in Georgia yet. We've been looking at properties, and I know that Atlanta is where PadSplit originated as well, and Nick has properties in Atlanta, and I know some other people that have got a lot of properties there as well.
Yeah.
So while the properties that we've looked at hasn't penciled out, I'm just, if I do see something that pops up in Atlanta, I know that it is something that we could buy and hold for ourselves.
Got it. Nice.
Yeah.
Celeste asks a question. She says, how does extended stay work? Can they just extend every week?
Well, we don't do it on a weekly basis, but what we did do, I can tell you what we actually did do, right? So, these guys wanted 6 months with the option to extend further as well. And so we said to them, in 3 months' time, we will follow up with them, because we just want to give ourselves enough time, if they are moving out, to start marketing and start doing our research to, fill that space.
Right. Because it's good when you have that much coming in, but if it all leaves at the same time, that could hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So by saying, let's revisit it at 3 months, then you're going to lower your risk, and they themselves will have to kind of decide what are they doing. And Celeste, I think your question comes from the fact that for some reason, I know the reason. PadSplit likes to collect the rent on a weekly basis.
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think they collect every 2 weeks.
Yeah. And that stems from the fact that they have been focusing on workforce, which is paid every week or every 2 weeks. But as we saw last week, they are starting to get into a little bit higher class properties, and they probably should change that, because it seems weird. If you're quoting per week, and the person's like, per week, I was expecting to be here at least 6 months or a year, so it's kind of an oddity, I think, of, PadSplit. But okay, so if they want to, then after that period, they can extend. And do you have them extend for another 6?
No, this option is to extend for another 3 months.
Okay.
If they do want to. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm not against extending by a week more as a favor, but as a business model, doing things on a week by week basis wouldn't enable scale.
No, it's too much touching. Personally, the mentorship that Kim and I are in, and I think Nina's on here too. They talk about starting 12-month leases and then backing up. In other words, if you don't want a 12-month lease, we'll give you a 6-month lease, but it will be at a higher rate. And they go to 3 months at the lowest, which is the highest rate. So I kind of like that, because you don't have to touch it as often.
Yeah. And from a sales perspective, because I've been involved in all of the calls as well, if someone is going from a 12-month lease to a 6-month lease, you can position it as, hey, I'm actually going out of my way to grant you this favor here. However, this is what you will have to give in return for that.
Yes, of course. Of course. And I think people who are already in there would feel better knowing that people are going to be in for a year as opposed to, you know, bi-weekly or 2 months or 3 months as the norm, because there's less psychologically they think there's less turnover, and there probably is less turnover.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yes,
I think there was
Nina
a question
says,
about Texas and oil markets as well. I mean, is it dependent on oil markets? Look, in the major cities, like, whether it's Dallas, Houston, Austin, business is beyond just oil there. So there is plenty of demand in those areas. But if you do go out to smaller towns, then it may be more dependent on oil.
okay, very interesting.
And personally, I don't go into small towns unless my exit strategy is a wrap.
Okay.
Selling it on payments to someone else and arbitraging the interest rate, only because it's just harder to fill. It's very niche, it's a smaller market that you're dealing with.
Okay, that's interesting. We are almost at an hour, although would you be willing to go a little bit longer?
Absolutely, it's fine.
Okay, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to either drop them in the chat and or to raise your hand. I'm curious because you had talked, I like the fact that you're focusing on trying to give a world-class experience, because that
Absolutely.
speaks to my desire to do B+, BB+, A- properties and to go for that clientele. It's kind of interesting how the companies have come to you and said, hey, we want it for our employees. So, you have to be flexible and be ready to go with the flow and pivot, that sort of thing. But tell me a little bit about how you intend to create cohesiveness, the idea that it's a home as opposed to just a room, and you happen to be in the room that's across from me, which is, I think a lot of pad split does end up being when it's short term, there's no community. So how do you address that? Do you try to build community within the house, or how does that fit in?
Well, I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I mean, it hasn't actually been too much of the focus, okay? But the reason I do say that, okay, is, I mean, all of this actually happened quickly before a community formed, right? Now, I went in with the mindset that I'm going to target a niche, right? Whether it's entrepreneurs, a younger demographic, and it could be, I know that Mount Dora has a focus on art. And so it could very well be art students, or just people who are art centric that could be in that property as well. And in Australia, there are niches. So you're either going to live with friends, or they'll actually say this is an entrepreneurial home. So each and every single person here is a business owner, and we would prefer to keep it that way, because every Monday night or Tuesday night we'll discuss a different topic, whether it's AI and so forth. And then there are others who could be professionals, and they look for other professionals as well that would complement them and their lifestyle as well. So sleeping by a certain time, or being able to go for drinks as well after a long hard day's work. And that is something that they actually do request as well, right? And then there are other subgroups as well. And so before it actually got to that, we didn't get the chance. But what have I actually been doing as far as my process is to make sure that people are in a safe and happy community? It's just making sure that we increase our communication. So because I have team members that are checking these tickets or the communication as well with any one of our tenants, we just ask, hey, what are your requirements? What's your feedback? How could we, what rating would you give this out of 10? If it's a 7, what do we need to do to make it a 10 out of 10 experience for you?
Good for you. Good for you. I think that's awesome. And it is interesting that Australia is a little ahead, because what you're talking about right now is, one of the things that I think co-living is all about. It's about finding like-minded people. And if you
Yeah.
can do that, then you know what? You might over time actually create a lineup to get into your place.
Absolutely. And that
Because of
is
the
incredibly
benefits.
important. Yeah, because I mean, other travel nurses, for example, because they could have different hours that they work, um, you want to make sure that you're aligning people, like, who are working those same shifts as well. Because you're just increasing the likelihood. You're right. Like, it is community based. People are going to enjoy being there. And I know that from my own experience, I loved it. And it's something that I actually did look for as well. And it wasn't, it's becoming more common here as well, which is great, but it's not as common as it is in Australia.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay. Any questions from the audience? Hi, Nina, I see you there now. Before I just saw your name. Any questions or thoughts, guys? I'm really liking how Chad put up his let's chat, and he's giving you the information, because usually I'm like, let's drop your link in the chat, but you've got that right there. So that's
So
cool.
I mean, if you want to know a little bit about me, it's there, and how I've been able to purchase 18 properties in the last 10 months as well. That blueprint is right there as well. And I mean, if at any time you feel like I can add value to what you're actually doing as well, there's a Calendly link as well. So let's just network. I'd love to get to know more and more people as well, which is exactly what Effie and I were discussing as well, 2 days ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what this is about. It's about learning from each other, and not, no mentorship required. It's just about learning from each other and growing. So yes, I think that is an important thing. And I'm
the pie is huge.
Yeah, the pie is very, very big.
Yeah.
And it's great to see a place where they're ahead of us.
Yeah.
Where although it's kind of scary to think $1 million for a condo, but yeah, for sure.
I mean, some of the prices there are just insane.
Yeah. Okay. So Celeste says that very nice. She says, this is very informative. I'm a bit bummed a pad split hasn't expanded in Massachusetts yet. I've been renting out my home as co-living. Can't wait for pad split to venture out here in my neck of the woods. That is good that you're ahead of it, Celeste, but also by learning as we go along here from each other, you can maybe you can tell them that, hey, I'll work for you, or whether you need to afford them, because, as an expense, because with Chad having 2 properties in one place, it probably isn't going to, have you analyzed how many you need before you can have one person who would run around and do, the servicing that might be necessary? And of course, that person might also need to take care of having the lawn done. He wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that?
Yes, and this is why, I mean, in that QR code, I've actually, I don't know if it mentioned there, but I'm now looking into boutique hotels and multifamily as well. It just makes maintenance that much easier as well, because yes, we do have those 2 homes that are close to one another as well, and we've been fortunate to be able to find great people who act as our boots on the ground, but also taking care of the lawn, the cleaning. They're our eyes and ears, right? They're part of the team as well, which is great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. I'm glad to hear it. In case you're not on the email list, if you wish to be on the email list, please drop your email in the chat. I'm adding people. Nina, I realized that I had forgotten to add you, so I just sent it directly to your DM. But yes, thank you, Julie. It's growing. I think we're up to almost 40 now, which is cool. And, it's all about learning from each other as often as we can.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hi, Melissa. See ya. All right. Okay, everyone. Any other last minute comments or questions? Okay. Well, I would love to say,
Thank you,
that.
Jared.
Yeah. Let's thank our guests. That's the least we can do, is to thank them. And I also think that at some, time, if you're game, you should come back and you should show us some pictures of the property, and also that, put it on a slide, like what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Your story has been very helpful. You're welcome, Sonia. And I'd love to have you again.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
You're
and looking
welcome.
forward to sharing all of those details as well. I had actually prepared a slide as well. But yeah,
Do you want
so
to
I mean,
run
but
through
we
it?
did actually, let me see what I can do. Because I'm on the iPad.
Mm-hmm. I have given permissions. So if you want to just run through it quickly, since we've already heard it, to a great degree, you could probably, I'd love to see it. And no one is forced to stay, so yeah, Rob says, yes, show us some slides. Yeah, it's fun to see these things.
Let me know if you can see it.
Yep, we can see your screen.
Okay. So yes, I mean, this is what I was saying in terms of Mount Dora, converted from 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom to 6 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, purchase price 315, entry fee, interest rate 4.8%. So, we always have our calculators. Our calculator is incredibly important, and we always do optimize them based on our experience as well. So we know exactly how much everything is actually going to cost us, and we can be more accurate with them going forward as well. So in this case for Mount Dora, these were like our numbers as well. So cost per room 185, number of people 6, revenue per week, revenue per month 4,810. Now, another thing that I do want to stress, when you do look at the numbers, this is also what you can think into, right? What I mean by that is, if you are not getting the applications within the time frame that you're expecting, when I looked at these numbers, I said, okay, if I do a corporate rental, but I remove the pad split fee because I'm no longer going to have that fee, how much can I charge? What are my options? And when I'm communicating with people, I can talk with confidence and speed and just present them with these numbers, knowing that I'm still going to be able to achieve the margin that I was expecting.
That's great.
Yes. Yeah. So, and we can reduce that vacancy as well that I did mention as well. But again, that being said, I always want to put money aside as well for a rainy day. And from my experience with the marketing that we've been able to put in there, I mean, I could say that we have reduced it to 5%, but let's average that out over a longer time frame.
For sure.
And this is, what I was actually showing to our investor as well. So in this case, if they did invest 60,000, their expected monthly share would be, this amount.
Nice.
And how much debt we would pay down, how much, if we experienced the same appreciation as last year, and the leverage that I organized as well. So this was creatively financed as well. So that means that for every dollar that they put in, I creatively, I organized $4.25 worth of leverage
Nice.
or loan. And, Tavares was converted from a 5-bedroom to 2.5 bathroom to 8 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. Purchase price $399,900, entry fee $70,500, and the interest rate was 4.875%. So looking at the same numbers here.
And that was the one that was sub 2, right?
Yes. Yeah. So Mount Dora is seller financed. And this one, our margin was 1,452 based on the numbers.
Nice.
Okay?
Yeah.
And, this one, these were what we had presented to our investors. So we've got like an investor pack. And if anyone's actually looking to raise capital and would like a copy of that investor pack, just reach out to me and then I can send you the link as well to what it is that we have prepared and what we continue to prepare.
Nice.
But yeah, this will also improve as well. But the investor pack, I can show you that as well, if you like.
Sure. And do you have any pictures of the properties?
Yes. So this is the property here in Tavares.
Nice.
Yeah. And so this is the investor pack that I put together. So 14.58% cash on cash return. That number has since changed. But if you would like to contact me, I can throw my details in the chat, or just go to that QR code. But yeah, this one was built in 2017. Here are some details there as well about the property. That's the kitchen, the hallway, one of the bedrooms as well. So it is quite spacious.
I like the furniture.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Does it come with a plane?
I wish it did. So why is this a good investment? And this is, my research on the area, and just providing that same research as well to anyone that may be interested. Okay, so we're not just going in there and buying anything in any area. We're researching the area as well. So the purchase is subject to arrangement, and then I explain exactly what the principal, interest, tax, insurance are. There are more photos as well. So I go on to explain exactly what subject to is and what the interest rates are, what they can earn. So the cash flow, appreciation, debt pay down. And this is where we go through the numbers. So their investment, and based on the numbers that we're expecting. And then I explain what the risks are. So if you guys are seeing value from this, let me know so I can continue. If I'm boring you as well, let me know. Give me a thumbs up if it's exciting.
Thumbs up, big thumbs up right here.
So
this is a great pitch deck. It's a very nice pitch deck. Good for you.
Thank you. So what are the risks? Look, I like to be able to sleep incredibly well at night. And for me, an informed investor is the best form of investor.
That's right.
Right. So, what are the risks? House values could drop. And then I explain our investment horizon is set at 5 years, considering that economic cycles are common, and that's minimum 5 years. So we believe that having a minimum investment at 5 years will provide us with an opportunity to navigate through economic downturns and wait for more favorable economic conditions to sell the property. And then vacancy period could be longer. Tenants may damage the property. House could have issues that were not identified during inspection. We may have problem tenants, management risks. So that could very well be myself and Steve as well, right? Issues there. So we go on to explain, what we do in those instances. Why is now the right time for you to invest? Okay. Nice. Some more photos of the area as well. This sounds great, but I'll do it later. And then I go on to explain, what the cost of inaction is.
Good for you.
And, time is your friend when you're investing in real estate. My funds are tied up and I don't have capital to get started. Okay, so you can invest your 401k, so you can get a self-directed IRA organized. But we can also, we've got access, to capital as well. Or we can provide you with that access to capital as well, like 0% personal and business funding. We're in recession. Shouldn't we wait for the economy to improve? So, just on that, Warren Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. And he's absolutely right. I saw that same thing happen within stockbroking as well.
Yeah.
Some more photos about Tavares, charming city located in Central Florida.
Nice.
And then I provide them with some details: elementary school, Walmart. And so then labor force. So you're just showing them the increase as well.
You're very thorough. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Unemployment rate, income per capita as well. So if you're deciding, if I'm going to do a wrap in a particular area, what percentage of, market are you going to appeal to? Employment industries, so healthcare, that is really good.
Yep.
That was important for us as well because, just traveling nurses in the area as well. Median list prices per square feet in Mount Dora as well. We can see the price increase over the last 8 years there. We're close to about 150 to, just under 405 So it's all referenced as well. So you can go to those areas, just showing transparency as well with the research that we've been able to gather. Home ownership rate, type and size of homes, property crime comparison. Why invest with us? A little bit about myself there as well.
Nice. I like that picture of you, by the way.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So frequently asked questions. What is an entry fee? What is this student accommodation? How leveraged is this investment? What class of property is it? What's the exit strategy if an investor wants to sell? Who is borrowing the money? Am I required to get the mortgage? That's it.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then when you set it up, is it like a JV with them? Or
Well,
is
we
it
set
a
up an
partnership?
LLC.
Yeah, an LLC,
Yeah.
but one LLC and the three of you are in it together?
Yes.
Okay, so that's partnership.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Oops, sorry. That's a great bonus. I really appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoyed it also. Yeah, I agree with you, Melissa. That's a great pitch deck. Awesome.
Thank you, Melissa.
Wow.
Yeah, if anyone's got feedback as well, let me know. I'm always looking to improve. All part of world class, right? So it's just encouraging my team members to go out there, be resourceful, and always aim to look for different and better ways of doing things as well. And we do that a lot through surveys as well, which is why you find me asking a lot of questions.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Very good. And you said that if somebody wanted to reach out, they could in regards
Absolutely.
to
Yeah, if they want a copy of that pitch deck, I'm more than happy to send it to them as well. That's fine. And if they would like to just network and they believe that I could add value to whatever it is that you're actually doing, would love that. And personally, I'm also looking at getting into multifamily and boutique hotels as well. So if anyone's in that space and feel I could add value as well, please reach out.
Awesome.
And Rent Money Club is all about my education as well, because I'm dealing with a lot of busy professionals who would like to get into real estate investing. And so Rent Money Club is basically, just the education that I'm putting together, but I'm also putting a platform together to inform them so then they can become investors as well.
So are you going to start your own mentorship then through that?
Yes, eventually. Yeah.
Okay.
But the whole idea behind
so we can say way back before he was a rock star mentor.
Yeah.
We had him on our.
But just on that whole mentorship, I mean, the whole mentorship isn't so that I sell someone into something and profit off that. It's, making sure that when they do become an informed investor and then they want to, put that towards the investment, that's credited towards that investment.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that in Zooms like this, it's about meeting each other, networking, learning, and of course doing business together wherever it's appropriate for sure. So I'm glad that you mentioned it because I kept looking at a Rent Money Club and I kept saying, "Oh, I have to ask him about that." I like the logo. That's
Thank
pretty
you.
cool, the way you've got the
Yeah.
buttons there. And I can't believe we got to the end and I hadn't. My apologies on that. But all right, guys, I am going to ask you to do one thing for Chad, and that is to, if you gained anything from here, go ahead and take either a screenshot or something like that and drop it into sub 2. Let other people know that Chad is in sub 2 and that he has experience and that he's willing to connect and, work together. So we can definitely help him in that way, I think.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Effie, for having me as well.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate the privilege.
Oh, I wasn't going to do this. Like I had said, I was going to wait till I could prove concept. And I thought it was a very good thing when my ass got kicked. And I thought, yeah, I should do it. Now I think, wow, what was I thinking? It's been really helpful. So I appreciate you very much. Okay, guys, I want to say thank you. And we're signing off. Don't forget that if you want me to include you, drop your email in the chat. And don't forget, you can also save the chat if you wish. Okay?
Yeah, you could save that chat in any way. I mean, I don't know how I could.
Would you see underneath at the bottom of the screen where it says chat?
Yep.
And we're in it? Well, if you go to the little area that says meeting group chat where you type into it,
Yep.
if you take a look at the ellipsis, those three little dots, and you click on it, then at the very top it says save chat.
Okay. My one on my iPad doesn't actually have the ellipsis. Or the save
You know what? And it doesn't show up in cell phones either.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you want the chat, I'll be happy to send it to you.
Awesome. That would be great. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
You're
Hope you got amazing value from it. Thank you so
All right,
much.
and
Have a
come
great
to
evening.
come again. You'll learn from others. Okay,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you. See you next
Okay.
week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.